Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for Shameless, Season 5, Episode 6, Crazy Love, and this was by far the best episode of the season. I was definitely looking forward to this episode after all the crazy cliffhangers of last week. This one really was by far the best episode of the season. So much crazy shit happened in this episode, and a lot of twists and turns, and I really loved it, guys. I really did, and I have to say, Noelle Fisher in this episode, by far Noelle Fisher's best performance, and just wow, this was a great episode. So one of the things we were most looking forward to, of course, let's just get started with it. One of the things I think that we were most looking forward to, or at least I was looking most forward to, is the return of Jimmy, what he was going to bring to the show. And as I predicted, the moment that Fiona meets him, she's punching him in the face, calling him motherfucker, and then kicks him and slaps him, which is understandable because I mean he's been gone for like 2 years. She had no idea where he was. If you remember, they were together, and he told her he was going back to college, and then he just took off without her. So she's not happy with him at all. He's just suddenly back, and he tells her something came up, and she demands to know where he was. He says he was in Commucado on a yacht for a year. He says he was handcuffed to a pipe in the engine room and pissing in a cup. He says then he was slave labor in Brazil, and he got malaria too. He says he escaped when the federals raided it. She asks who the woman is, and he says it's his partner in crime. So he asks why she got married and then says she deviated his septum because, of course, now he knows that she's married. And she says he's lucky she didn't have his knife. And Fiona says that he just vanished. And he asks, what now? And she says that she's married. And he doesn't seem phased, and which is weird. He doesn't seem like he's like weirded out or anything. And he called him a fucking asshole. And basically, she's not happy with him at all. But the thing is here that Jimmy is definitely hiding something. I don't know what it is, but we know that, first of all, Angela is calling him Jack, so clearly there's something he's not telling her. Mickey calls and Jimmy says to say hi, and she tells Jimmy to shut up and says she's on the way to see about Ian. And Jimmy asks what Ian did and then waits outside, and we see Ian driving down the road with the stolen baby. And he says that he's going to Love, Florida. And Ian in this episode, absolutely insane to see. A lot of funny moments with him, but you know he's crazy. And one of the things I like is that there were times where I wanted to laugh, but I didn't laugh because I knew Ian was crazy, and the only reason he's like hilarious right now is because of how crazy he is. And he's cursing, he's laughing, then talks crazy, but ignores his phone. And of course, last week, he kidnapped Yevi and took off with Yevi, and since then, they have no idea where he is. So he's planning on going to Disney World and says the two of them against the world. He says all their problems are disappearing, but really he's crazy. So Mickey keeps calling and calling, and Svetlana wants to call the police. Mickey says Ian will bring their son back, and he's just scared him talking about the psych ward. And, Mickey, you can definitely see, is very concerned. So Liv, meanwhile, is doing RA duties because he told Amanda that he would be her um, RA, I believe is like assistant something. I don't remember what it is, but basically in the dorms, then a mom approaches him and says she's Karen's mom. Not Karen, not batshit Karen, Sheila's mother, not that Karen, thank God. Thank God she is gone because she slows the show down and makes it slow as molasses, and I hate her character. And she's a bitch, so not that Karen. This is a completely different Karen, but this girl's mom wants to hand him a bag of medication, and I love that Lip says this is not a summer camp, and he's not the nurse. He tells a room full of idiots to lay off the weed and porn until the parents leave, and he's complaining to a man about being an RA, and she says he could have moved in with him. He could have moved in with her, and she's painting a mural on his wall and says her new roomie she found in Craigslist is a total bull dyke, and he gets a call, then asks if he can borrow her car since Ian just stole a baby. And so yeah, he knows what's going on there. So Frank is intercepting, and this whole episode with Frank, something weird was going on because he's holding like his chest, and I'm just like, is Frank gonna like pass out? Is he losing his liver or something? I really thought something bad was gonna happen to Frank in this episode because we see him in the episode and he's like holding his chest and he's walking, and he intercepts the mail lady Gail and asks about his government check, and she tells him to get a job, and he says that would be depriving her of the privilege of supporting him, and he then heads home amid horrible stomach pains, and he pounds on the door until Sammy opens it. Now, of course, as I said, Sammy does not want him back, especially after what Debbie said to her last week. I knew there was no way Sammy was going to take him back. And he's trying to come in, and she blocks him. He shoves her out of the way, and she asks where he's been, and she says the bedrooms are all locked to keep him out. She really wants nothing to do with him, and I like seeing Sammy know that Frank is, such a terrible person, and really want nothing to do with him. Because Frank is just going to screw her over in the end, like he has everyone. He screwed everyone else over. Why not? He's going to do the same to Sammy. That's just how Frank is. He screws people over. And Sammy needs to understand that. So I like that Sammy's realizing that. And basically, she says she boxed up his shit here and put it in the backyard, and he asks where he'll sleep, and she says she doesn't care. So she says back to the gutter or the couch. She says new rules are no money, no food, and there's a curfew. And we kind of see that Sammy's kind of taken over the Gallagher house because, Lip's gone and everything. Fiona's at her job. So Sammy's kind of taken over. And I don't really like all the rules that Sammy has. I mean, I definitely feel like Sammy is being way too controlling. She's not their mother, first of all. She is their sister. And even though Fiona is their legal guardian, and even though Sammy's older than Fiona, that does not mean she gets to take over. No, definitely, I do not like Sammy in Fiona's possession. I do not like it. Um, Debbie says Liam stays up later than that. Sammy says not to try her. They think she's like crazy and says it gets cold outside. Debbie says she has to get ready for high school, and Sammy hugs her and says she should dress dowdy so she doesn't get raped. And she says to pee before she goes so she doesn't get beat up by Ukrainians. And she asks Debbie if she needs more money for school supplies and asks her to pick up some stuff for Chucky too. And basically, yeah, so Debbie's heading to high school, and Fiona and Lip come to Mickey, and Svetlana is ranting about Ian, and Mickey says he told Ian he was going to take him to the hospital, and he freaked out and took the baby. And Lip and Fiona decide that Ian has had a psychotic break, and sure enough, he's driving with no hands. So clearly he is definitely not he does not have a good mindset right now. He is completely crazy, and just his bipolar disorder is getting the best of him. I mean, he's singing along to On the Road Again on the radio station, extremely dangerous what he's doing, and I honestly thought that he was getting into a car accident. When we see him driving with no hands, I'm like, he's going to get into a car accident. Something bad's going to happen to him. Because episode 6 is usually when Shameless starts to get very serious, and I didn't know if something bad was going to happen to him or not, and I thought it was. So he sees this big factory, pulls over, he gets up, says the sunset's beautiful, pulls Yevy out of the car and twirls him around. Later they talk as a family and wonder where Ian may have gone, and Sammy suggests calling the cops. And everyone's yelling no, because, that's never what you should do. Sammy's, like, completely naive and has no idea how the Gallaghers handle things. This really felt like classic Shameless. You know how in Season 1 a lot of the episodes just dealt with, let's solve this mission? That's what this episode was, and I thought that was really awesome. So, Lip in the meet has no idea what Jimmy is doing there. He's like, what the hell are you doing here? And Lip says he thought that she was married and says she is, and nobody else knew. And I love that everyone just finds out that second. Although I really wanted Debbie to find out by having that conversation with Fiona so she tell Fiona what really happened. But I guess they're just going to forget about that because of, her and Derek and everything, which is fine, but I just would have wanted them to find it in a better way. But I guess it was well done the way they did it. It wasn't badly done or anything. I thought it was well done overall. Not Steve, Jimmy says musicians are unreliable. It says Steve here. I don't know why, but his name is Jimmy. Sammy asks when she got married and why she's keeping it a secret, and Fiona shoves Jimmy out of the way, says he can't keep showing up, and he asks who Sammy is, and says she's, of course, because Jimmy's completely has no idea what's going on, because he wants to know who Sammy is. She says she's a sister they didn't know about. He says he's missed a lot, including her going to jail for almost killing Liam. He says no shit, then asks about the 35-year-old bass player, and she asks how she knows that, and he says Angela was checking on her for him, and he tells her he loves her, and asks if she still loves him, and then she says no, and he calls her a liar, and he tells her again that he loves her, and then whispers into her ear, and she's crying, putting her hands over her eyes, and this whole time I'm just like, should she trust him? Should she actually listen to what he's saying to her? Because we know what he's done to her before, we know he's screwed her over, and now should be no different. So everyone's watching them through the window. Lip says don't do it, but then she's in Jimmy's arms kissing him, and Sammy says it was very hot and everything. And I did not know if they really should have been doing that. I'm just like, I don't know if these two should be together right now. I really do not know. So next day, Lip has Liam by the hand and is getting ready to open her door. And Fiona wakes with Jimmy. She slept with Jimmy. Yeah, she slept with Jimmy, and he's beside her. Pulls on her clothes, finds Lip lurking outside her door. She asks if he's heard from Ian, and neither of them have. He asks if she can take care of Jimmy, or if he should beat Jimmy to death with a bat and says he was an intruder, because he really does not want Jimmy there. He knows the stress that Jimmy caused Fiona in the past, but I think at this point Jimmy just wants her back. He definitely seems kind of genuine, but at the same time, we know that Jimmy never says who he is, and we know all his aliases and everything. His past, I don't think Jimmy's changed that much. He just doesn't seem like he's changed. So, I do like the two of them together when it's genuine, but I just don't know if I really trust him right now. So downstairs, Sammy is cooking, and the kids all stare at Fiona. Sammy asks if Jimmy is going to move in with she and Gus, and she says those early days of marriage are so important. And Fiona's looking at her like, what the hell are you talking about? And Lip says Mickey hasn't heard from Ian ever either, and Debbie says she has to go, and so does Lip. He says he'll keep his phone home, and someone knocks, and Sammy yells at Carl to get it. Carl says the other husband guy is at the front door. That's literally what he says. And Fiona says her phone died when she says he was texting her. And she says the lump and smell on the sofa is her brother. She says Ian stole a baby, and he asks if that's the one in college. And she says no, the one who ran away to join the army. And he says he stole his boyfriend's baby. And Lip tells Gus not to fuck this up and says Fiona's worth it. Gus says he has to meet Chris to work on a demo, but she says to go on and she'll call him later. And she kisses him warmly, and he goes, and I really feel bad for Gus, because, I mean, she just slept with Jimmy, and Gus is such a good guy for her. He really is the perfect guy. I've said this before. Gus is, like, the perfect guy for her, and now, like, especially because it's her husband, and now she's up with Jimmy, so really she's in a bind here, and I really felt bad for Gus in this scene, definitely. I really did feel bad for him. So, Sammy's watching all this with interest, and Ian's asleep in the car but wakes to a screaming baby, gets out of the car, walks away. He looks around and goes to get the baby out, and he tells him not to cry because it's a beautiful morning. Changing his diaper, says to stop crying so he doesn't scare the sun away. He leaves the baby on the hood of the car, goes for his diaper, really has no idea what he's doing, goes to check the trunk for a diaper, then shows Yevi he found a shirt and ties it around him, says the other babies are going to think he's a badass, picks him up, then says he must be hungry, looks around for someone to feed the kid, says they're near an aqueduct and can forage, and Yevi just won't stop crying. And he ignores his bringing foam, walks off with Yevi riding on his shoulders, and Mickey leaves him an angry and homicide. And I loved this scene. Noel Fisher in this scene, this was so well done. Mickey's leaving him this message about how he's thinking about homicide, but he tells him that he loves him and he really wants to make sure he's okay and is worried about him. And I really love that scene because it just shows how much he cares about him. And you really feel bad for Mickey because he knows that he should have gotten him that help. He just didn't think he needed it. And now he knows that he should have gotten it for him. And you really do feel bad for what's happened to Mickey and Ian. So, basically, Svetlana says she's in labor, says she has to wear shitty, boring clothes. She says to get Yevi back or she'll call the cops, and Mickey reminds her to get the money before she hands the baby over, and she heads out to the hospital with her girlfriend and says her baby better be back by the time she's back from labor and delivery. So Fiona wakes Jimmy and basically says she wants him out now. He gets up and says okay. Fiona slams out the back, then Jimmy comes downstairs pulling his clothes on. He says morning to everyone. I love that it just felt like season 3 Shameless, where he's just is living there and everything. And he's asking for coffee, and Sammy pours him a cup, and Fiona comes to see V, and we don't see much of V and Kev in this episode. We see 2 quick scenes of them, but that's really all we really need to see. There's not too much development with them, which I was fine about because we got so much with them last week. So V is telling her that she and Kev have decided to separate since he doesn't care about her anymore, which is not true. He does care about her. It's V that doesn't care about her kids. And while you feel bad for V, at the same time, I understand Kev's point. She needs to be more supportive of her children, and she's just not a mother. She wasn't meant to be a mother. That's the thing with her. She says he's sleeping on the couch and says she and Kev got into a fight, and V tells her she better take her side. She says Kev took the girls to a park and says she has to go open up the alibi. She asks what Fiona wanted and she tells her never mind that it can wait. V hugs Fiona, and of course Fiona was going to tell her about Jimmy, but she doesn't get a chance to. So she tells her she loves her, then goes to climb into the shower, and yeah. So that's really all we get with V, and we're going to have to see what happens there. So Debbie heads to high school and is a little bit freaked out, obviously, because it's her first day of high school. So one girl pops up in her face, asks if she's Deadly Debbie, because, of course, the whole thing with her beating up her Holly and Ellie last week, and asked the girl if she, it apparently was on YouTube, and Derek put it on YouTube and everything, and Derek is there, asked the girl if she finished her community service for her socialization charge, and the girl walks off, and Derek asks if she's making enemies already. Derek says a lot of people are going to want to try. He asks if she can kick her ass, and she says she doesn't know. I really like Derek. He really seems like a nice guy for her, and he just seems like he really does care about her. Especially after what she's done, definitely it seems like he cares about her. But he definitely seems like he's kind of playing hard to get a little bit, which I like about him, because I don't think anyone's really done that to Debbie, and I like that about him. So Amanda sees her roommate Muff off to buy towels, and Lip says she seems hot for her, And Amanda says it's kind of intriguing, then sees a credit card offer. She says her dad took away all her credit cards. Amanda says she'll run it up, then beg her dad to pay it off. He says he'll catch up, then calls Ian, asks where the fuck he is, and Ian pulls into a gas station and grabs Yevi, and he takes him inside, and literally, just picture this. He's walking inside, he's got like a half-naked baby with just in a shirt, and he grabs some diapers, Red Bull, and baby food. Literally a Red Bull. He also asks for gas. He hands the baby to a stranger, digs out money. She says it's not enough. He asks for how much for gas. A woman steps up, hands over 5 for the diapers. Ian thanks her. He takes Yevi back, lays him on the counter, starts to change him. Seriously, like, he has no idea what he's doing. He's a giant mess here. And the clerk's saying he can't change him there, heads out of the store. Like, seriously, he has no idea what he's doing. So, he really does not know what he's doing, and that was just crazy. So, Jimmy's asking Fiona who, Sean's asking Fiona who Jimmy is and why she was beating him, and he says they must have been sleeping with him as mad as she was, and he says Jackie's getting out of the hospital and says her PO is picking her up, which of course she was concerned about because Fiona does care about Jackie and wants her to get her kids and everything, and Fiona asks her for another chance, but Sean says he can't enable her. And then Angela comes in, and this was really interesting with Angela because, of course, we know that Angela is working with Jimmy. Jimmy claims that that's his partner in crime. So Sean says it's her big tipper. She goes over, greets Angela. She asks if she and Jimmy are lovers, and Angela says he's not her type. Fiona is. She says she needs Jimmy to make a decision about their business and says she'll make other arrangements if he's staying, and Fiona says she doesn't know. But here's the thing. When we saw Jimmy and Angela in that car at the end of season 4, she was calling him Jack. She seemed like she was into him. It seemed like she was his girlfriend. So what the hell are they hiding? First of all, she has not called him Jack once. She called him Jimmy. And when Fiona said Jimmy, she didn't say who's Jimmy. So clearly there's something else that's going on. They're hiding something. I don't know what it is, but we know that she thinks his name is Jack, and at least it's what we think, because that's what we saw in the season 4 finale. So I don't really know what's going on. I'm very interested in seeing what's going on there. Because as we know with Jimmy, nothing is as it seems. So I think that's really interesting. So Kevin rants to Julie, you know, that girl that gave him a blowjob last week in the park about V not taking care of the kids, and he says his wife sleeps through the night, and this is really the only other scene with Kevin V. He asks what kind of mom doesn't wake when her kids cry, and Julie tells him that her jerking him off was a one-time thing, and she really wants nothing to do with him now. So the nurse gets Carol, the mom who's adopting Svetlana's baby, and brings her back. The dad is checking out Svetlana's GF Nika in the waiting room. She shows him some leg, then gives him a flash of, and basically flashes him, and she comes to sit down next to him, and she tells him that waiting can be very stressful. She runs her hands up his leg, says he can have her mouth for $100. He says he doesn't want to miss the birth, but she says babies take hours, and, yeah, so I don't know where that's going, but that was interesting, I guess. Ian parks the car, checks his hair, he says baby needs a new pair of shoes, tells Yevi he'll be back in a flash for the cash, but of course, what's one of the things you never do? You don't leave a baby in a hot car, but of course, Ian has this bipolar disorder, his mind's not with it, and he's not thinking, so he's doing things that just he should not be doing, and one of the things you should never do is you do not leave a baby in a hot car. That's just something you don't do. So the baby's crying, woman's hearing, tries to get Yevi out of the car, and, Frank's waking up, calls for help. Sammy is Chucky and Liam and is going to get ready to get Panhandle, and he says he's in pain. She asks if he's been taking his meds. He asks if she's been giving them to him, and she says that's not her job, which it's not. I mean, he can do that himself, and Sammy says not to help him since he doesn't care about them, and I like that Sammy's just like, no, I'm not going to help you, because you know what? She helped him through that whole thing last year, and he has not given her one single thank you, so why the hell should she help him? And I like that she is not helping him. And basically she tells Chucky not to help him, and she tells Liam not to help him either. And Frank's calling them both cocoa ingrates, and he makes it to the kitchen, yanks the phone down, hits him in the face, and he's in really bad shape now. So, cops try to get Yevi out of the car. When Ian comes up, they tell him that he can't leave a baby in a hot car alone. Simple logic, Ian. Like, come on, just have some logic, man. I mean, I know your mind's not with it, but seriously. Ian says they scared the baby, then curses at the woman, and the cop asks if Ian is on the baby, and Ian says they're trying to take his baby and asks what the fuck is wrong with him. He asks who told them to come steal his baby and takes off running with Yevie. The cops give chase. Ian runs into a grocery store calling for help, ranting about how they want to steal his baby. The cop corners him. Ian throws things at them as Yevie's screaming. Yevie has no idea what's going on. I mean, you gotta feel bad for. I gotta say, the baby that plays Yevie, it must be like the most confused like child ever. Seriously, they must be. He's holding the baby, crying, begs them to stop. There's a knock at the door, and Mickey gets his gun, and that was just a crazy scene. So then Mickey gets his gun. There's a knock at the door. He has no idea who's there, but apparently it's Carl. Carl's there, and he asks why he's there, and he says he wanted to see if he heard from Ian. And Mickey says no, and Carl said, and it was nice to see Carl be genuinely concerned about someone, because Carl so far this season has just been a douchebag to everyone and hasn't really cared about anyone except his drug dealer. So Carl says he saw this with his mom, Monica. And I like that he said this because it's true. This is what happened with Monica. He says she climbed on the roof and says she was a bird. Mickey asks if she jumped. Carl says the fireman got her down, and Mickey offers Carl a beer and then asks if he has weed. And Carl says that eats into the profits, and Mickey says dealing drugs is not a white man's game anymore. And Mickey's phone rings. He says the cops have Ian the baby. He asks where Tara Haught is, and basically, so yeah, that's why Ian's acting this way, because it's a symptom of bipolar disorder. I didn't know that bipolar disorder can do that to you, but that's really interesting. So Angela and Jimmy wait in the car and talk. She says they have to leave for Dubai soon, and Jimmy intercepts her when Fiona comes home. So once again, they're hiding something because Fiona has no idea what's going on. So he says they have to talk, but she says she's not up for it. They go inside. She turns on a light. She's cursing, saying her phone is dead. He tells her he doesn't know what to say. She looks for a phone charger. He says he's sorry for everything that happened. She gets a beer, asks him if that's supposed to be enough. And he says he thought about her every day and loves her. He says he loves everything about her. She asks what he wants. He says he's sorry. And I'm just thinking, what the hell's his angle here? Because he keeps telling her over and over again that he loves her. And it just seems like it's just a repetitive thing. And he then kisses her. They end up almost having sex, but then they stop because she doesn't want to have sex with her. She's crying. She tells him to stop. She starts full on crying, goes to sit by the washer, begs him to just go home, and you really do feel bad for Fiona. She's in a very tough position now because she has to choose between Gus and Jimmy, two men who have been in her life, who one she's married to, one that she's been in a relationship with before. So she really has to choose on who she really wants to be with, and it's not the easiest decision. So Lip tries to call Fiona, then Debbie tries to text her, and they're in the car with Mickey, and Carl heads to get Ian, and Mickey apologizes for not listening to them about Ian, and they all agree it could be much worse. So Frank's in the hospital, and yeah, Frank was in the hospital. I knew something bad was going to happen to Frank. And at this point, I'm thinking, is this going to be a repeat of Season 4? I really thought something bad was going to happen to Frank. He talks about how Sammy hasn't been giving him his meds, and he says he's 51, shouldn't be able to, and I like what the doctor says. The doctor kind of gives him a reality checker that he's 51, he should be able to take care of himself unless he's retarded, which of course he's not. And basically she tells him, look, you need to get your shit together, and if you're gonna, basically if you want to keep your liver, you're not gonna get another one, and you're gonna die. So I like that she told him that, because Frank needs a reality check here, because he doesn't realize what's really going to happen to him. He doesn't realize the severity of his situation, that this is serious stuff now. Okay, yes, he got a liver before. Yes, he was lucky with that. But now this is serious, because now it's at a point where he could end up dying, and if he does, it's his own fault. And I like that this Frank storyline. A lot of people said they don't like Frank storylines this year. Really, it's just trying to show that Frank is a cold, heartless bastard who won't do anything for himself. And I think what this is trying to show is that Frank needs to start learning to take care of himself, because all his life, Frank has had people to rely on him. All his life. And he hasn't done shit for them. Sheila and Sammy helped him so much last year, and he has not done one thing for them. Not one thing of gratitude, not one thank you. He needs to take care of himself, and if he doesn't, then he's gonna die. If he dies, his own fault. That simple. So, Lip says they're going to take this, Lip says they're going to talk about this later, and Carl says he needs to stay in the car since he has a pound of weed in the car. Lip says they're going to talk about this later. The arresting officer says that Ian locked the baby in a hot car, then ran away. That's, of course, why he got arrested, and Mickey says the baby's his. He asks who he's in a relationship with to Ian, and I love that Mickey says partner, lover, and family, because he is family to Ian, And the cop says they took him to the hospital, give him a sedative, and he says they need to get Ian some help, and Lip says they know. They bring Ian out. Lip hugs him. He says he looks like a zombie, and Mickey holds him tight and cries. The cop brings Chevy out. Mickey takes his son. He tells Mickey he's a cute kid and a good sleeper. Mickey takes his son, thanks the officer. He cuddles his son close, and Fiona then goes to see Gus at his place. Pulls off her clothes, climbs into bed with him, and she holds him tight and cries. And of course, she's crying because she can't look him in the eye right now. It's hard for him to look at her. It's hard for her to look him in the eye without just thinking about what she did with Jimmy, of course. So she really does feel bad about that, and I like that about Fiona. A lot of people say that they're slowly making Fiona very unlikable, but I think this episode really Fiona is likable. She just is kind of in a bind now and doesn't really know what to do. So Mickey says they have to commit Ian even if he doesn't want to go. He says if he kidnapped the baby, they'll have to take him. Really, they have no choice. So Mickey says if he won't go, he'll call the cops and says he kidnapped Yevie. Slip tells Mickey he did okay, tried, which was a lot more harder than most people do. Ian has fallen asleep on his shoulder. They head home, and Fiona wakes up to Gus playing his guitar and singing. Davis is there too. Gus says her phone kept going off, but he didn't want to wake her. She takes her phone, goes to check it, and she makes a call to Lip. Gus watches from the other room. She leaves and rushes to the hospital. She hugs Ian and asks if he's okay. Lip tells Ian to sign the admittance papers. He does. Ian looks back at Mickey, who gives him an encouraging nod. Doctor comes to get Ian, gives Yevie a kiss, and then walks past Mickey, stops Ian, hugs him tight, cries into his neck, holds Ian, asks if he can go in with him, but the nurse says no, and of course, he knows this is going to be the last time he's going to see Ian for a while. He knows he's heading to the psych ward, and basically the episode ends with Ian going to the psych ward, and yeah, so Ian's now gone to the psych ward, but the good thing is he's finally getting the help that he needs, and Mickey should be happy about that. I know that Mickey's upset that he can't see him, but he should be happy that he is finally getting the help that he needs, because he does need help. This episode proved that he is crazy, and he needs to get that help, and I love that this episode showed that. Overall, guys, this episode was absolutely amazing. Once again, another fantastic episode. By far the best episode of the season. A lot to talk about, though. Now, Fiona. Fiona needs to make a clear decision here. Does she want to be with Jimmy or does she want to be with Gus? Jimmy is clearly hiding something with Angela. I don't know what it is, but he is definitely hiding something. We'll have to see what it is in the next episode. Frank needs to learn to take care of himself and stop relying on people, because nobody is going to help him. Sammy's not going to help him, and the Gallaghers aren't going to help him. So he needs to do what he needs to do, and if he kills himself, he kills himself. It's that simple. If Frank dies at the end of this season, he did it to himself. It's going to be sad, but he did it to himself. So, Debbie, I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen with Debbie and Derek. It definitely seems like they're getting close, but he definitely seems like he wants to be more friends than he does as a boyfriend. And I like that Debbie is not, like forcing him to be her boyfriend, because she did that with Maddie and she knows it didn't go well. I definitely feel like Debbie is learning from that, and I like seeing that. I thought that was very well done. Mickey, I definitely think that Mickey definitely made the right decision in getting Ian the help. I don't know how it's going to be with Mickey. Definitely he's going to miss Ian. Obviously he's going to miss Ian. Why wouldn't he? I mean, he just took Ian to that psych ward. He's probably going to miss him like crazy. This is his boyfriend we're talking about. He clearly misses him. I really want to talk about Sammy in this episode. I don't really like seeing Sammy take over the house. I'm not saying she's bad at it. I just don't really like seeing it. I'm going to be honest. I don't think Sammy is the right person to take over when Fiona's at her job. I just don't really like seeing it. I don't think it was well done. I understand what they're trying to do there. I just didn't think I didn't like that. Kevin V, they definitely need to fix something about their relationship, because even though they're separated, they're still together, and I think that they can definitely fix things. If Lip and Mickey can fix, I mean, not Lip, if Ian and Mickey can fix things, definitely they can fix things. Lip and Amanda, I like them overall. I like seeing Lip being the RA. I thought that was funny to see. I don't know what's going on with that girl and Amanda. I have no idea what's going on there. That's really weird. As far as Svetlana's girlfriend, I don't know why she's flirting with, like, that other guy. I have no idea what's going on there. Not much to really say about Carl, except for the whole drug dealer situation. I wonder if he'll take Mickey's advice when Mickey, because Mickey basically told him you're a terrible drug dealer, which I thought was funny, because he really is not a good drug dealer. I have to admit, Carl is a terrible drug dealer. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else to really talk about. Jackie. Jackie, I really hope that Jackie is going to get her kids back. I think that she is, but we'll have to see what happens. I mean, Fiona really does care about Jackie, and I definitely feel like the next episode is going to focus on that. And it looks like the next episode, Jimmy's going to try to convince Fiona to come to, um, where was it that Angela said they were going to go? Hang on one second, guys. Where was it that oh, Dubai. It seems like he's trying to convince her to go to Dubai. We'll have to see what happens there. I have no idea what they're hiding. Why is Angela not calling him Jack? There are definitely a lot of things going on here. I don't know if she's calling him Jack because she thought his name was Jack and then he told her everything. I don't know if he's being sincere to Fiona, but I definitely feel like he is not being 100% honest with Fiona because he's never been 100% honest with Fiona, and that's not going to change now. That's just who Jimmy is, and he's not going to change now. But overall, guys, it's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, thought this was the best episode of the season. And I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for a movie review. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.